Colston Loveland today on with John Jansen, who, Chris, you were just on the phone with, talking to him for the football preview.
John Jansen, that is, not Colston Loveland.
Yes, you were just on the phone with John Jansen. But Colston
One
Loveland,
of the best ever to wear the uniform, by the way, and an unbelievable guy. Just wanted to plug JJ. So,
no doubt. And check his podcast out, In the Trenches. He had Colston Loveland and Davis Warren on today. But Colston Loveland, we'll talk about one of his comments here. One, he's up to 248 pounds. Is going to be, he said, hopefully to 253 by the time fall camp starts. So I know we had some people really asking about what's Colston Loveland's weight. Well, he talked about it today. But he had an interesting quote when John Jansen asked him about the identity of the Michigan offense. And here is his quote. It's Michigan football, and we're going to keep playing how we've been playing. We're definitely going to run the rock. We've got a great O-line, great running backs, great receivers for blocking on the perimeter. But I think we're definitely going to spark a little more in the pass game this year, especially building the chemistry. We have JJ all offseason, referring to JJ being healthy as opposed to last year. I think we're going to sling it around the yard a little bit more. So my question to you guys on that is, and it's one thing for one player to say that, I mean, I'd be interested to hear Jim Harbaugh's thoughts. And, even those, I think he says things for certain reasons, especially in the offseason at times. But do you guys believe that will end up being the case when this season is over, that Michigan will, raise its output in the pass game?
I do. I don't think it's going to be Air JJ, but I do think that with a running game like this, your play action game should be better. And you've got the numbers, right, Clay? Don't you go back? I mean, with play action, how much they connected on last year? And
and I can look it up right now, but JJ led the country in play action yards per attempt, according
there
to
you have it. See,
and he did not attempt. He didn't attempt many of them. He's way down there in terms of attempts there. So
that's exactly right. And so I want to see more of that, right? When you are dominating on the ground like that, and for sure, continue to run the ball. I've said it a million times. Everybody's like, "Oh, I want throw." I'm like, there's nothing sexier in football than running over somebody for 400 yards rushing and just dominating people up front with your offensive line. Period. End of story to me. You know what? You want to take away the fourth quarter of that Ohio State game a couple of years ago and just start slinging the ball, or do you want to watch Hassan Haskins completely emasculate the Ohio State defense the way he did? And then for good measure, leap a guy at the 5-yard line. It's like, all right, I've been pounding you. Now I'm going to leap over you, sit down, have a Gatorade. So it was, to me, though, I love the idea of more play action. And I think that this team is going to be able to do that. JJ, I've said so many things about JJ. This kid is just a winner. And the fact that he doesn't care how much he's throwing as long as they win speaks volumes to me. And you could see it in Cade McNamara's body language sometimes. When the Washington game a couple of years ago, he was frustrated that they weren't throwing more. I'm like, well, too bad. You know what? It's time to go out there and and he didn't complain about it openly, but you could kind of see it. JJ McCarthy is just like, yeah, let's smash him. Even in the TCU press conferences before the game, he's like, we're going to play smash mouth football and we're going to run it down your throat. And then when they ask him to throw, guess what? He still had 324 yards or whatever it was passing. So, but I think he's going to take a huge step this year. They've got some weapons. I am interested to see if they do have a true number one receiver, if Cornelius Johnson can get to be that 1,000-yard guy. But all in all, this should be one fantastic offense.
Yeah, and you look at it too. I think so often when people talk about, well, what's John and Tom Crawford talked about on their show last night, the whole man ball thing, and what. But if you're going to increase the passing output, what does that look like? And I say, why can't you have both? And I think this offense is built to do both. Starting with Colston Loveland, I think that so often we talk about who's going to be the go-to receiver on this team. Who's going to be that guy that, one of those gotta-have-it situations can move the chains for them. And I think it's kind of just staring us right in the face. I mean, Colston Loveland's the guy that's going to play in line. He's going to play in the slot. They played him a little bit at boundary wide receiver for a few snaps last year, and I believe in the spring game as well. So that's a guy, to me, I think that, we talk about what Colston Loveland can bring. If he physically has made the strides that he says he has and that the program has asked of him, to me, I don't think there's any question that he can kind of be your go-to guy in those types of situations. And, in reference to the passing game, too, I went back and looked at this. I believe it was either yesterday or the day before. What types of statistics or numbers have national championship winning quarterbacks put up in recent years. And I don't think that Michigan needs the gaudy numbers from J.J. McCarthy that a lot of people thinks he might need. I mean, Jake Coker from Alabama, 2015 threw for 3,100 yards, 21 touchdowns, 8 picks. I mean, I think J.J. McCarthy is a way better quarterback than that. But you have your Deshaun Watsons and your Joe Burrows and your Mac Joneses in there who have put up these video game type numbers. But those teams were so successful because they could also run the football. They could control the line of scrimmage. So for me, I think that they will inherently take a step forward in the passing game because I do think just another year of experience in this system for the starting quarterback, I think is so huge. I don't think there will be as much, quote unquote meat left on the bone, but if you just improve on the margins there, I feel like we've been talking about this all off season. Can we finally break that single season touchdown mark? I mean, 25 touchdowns in a season is fairly pedestrian now by modern college football standards. So, you want to see them be a little more aggressive. I'd like to see them push the ball towards the end zone a little bit more. When we talk about using those tight ends and some of the bigger wide receivers they have, but I don't know that the statistics, the numbers will look that much better, but when the dust clears on this season, I think that this passing game will be more efficient. And I'll say it too. I think they'll be a little more consistently explosive as opposed to kind of disappearing at times.
Yeah, Michigan only threw the ball last year 26.4 times per game, 114th in the country, and I believe second to least in the Big Ten behind Minnesota, which also had a really good run game. So I don't think it's going to be – I think they're going to throw a little bit more this year, and I think that's because they probably would have last year if it worked a little bit more at times. There were 4 games in a row where JJ was 53% completion percentage or worse in the Big Ten. One of those was Ohio State, which he was 50, completely fine. He was fantastic in that game. But the 3 games before that, they really didn't get much going in the passing game, which was kind of why so many people were surprised by what they did through the air against Ohio State with some of those big plays. Colston Loveland's touchdown being one of them. But I think he's going to be a lot better. And Colston talked about this as well, outside of just that quote, but just the fact that they're going to have JJ all offseason as the starter and as a guy who's fully healthy. And I think that's going to pay dividends for these guys too, including the wide receivers, which, there's no first round type of guy there. There's probably not even a guy that could go maybe in the first 4 rounds. We'll see, maybe with a Roman Wilson or something like that. But, the chemistry is going to be there. JJ is going to take a big step forward. And I think if it's working, like I think it'll work, then I think they'll go to it a little bit more. And that's when we're going to see those attempts go up, probably a little bit closer to 30, not much more than that maybe, but I don't think they're going to sling it around the yard, as Colston Loveland said, but he did add the caveat a little more. And so I would agree with that.